Hello, everyone. Welcome to our latest edition of Global Market Wrap. I'm Mike Manjos, coming to you from our studio in Philadelphia, and I'm lucky to be joined today by Patrik Hoffmann in Switzerland, Josh in Hong Kong, and CQ over in Dubai. And we're going to touch a little bit on the global market and what we see coming up. So we're going to start off, we're going to jump right in with Josh in Hong Kong. Josh, how you doing today?
Hey, Mike, happy to be back. Good to see you.
Oh, it's great to have you back. And just give us a little bit of an idea of what's going on the ground in Hong Kong. It's been way too long since I've been there, so the only thing I get to do is live it through you. So give us an idea of what's going on the ground over there, and maybe talk to about a special piece you got.
Sure. So, day-to-day living in Hong Kong right now, everybody, it was really difficult to travel. So, nobody's spending money on holidays. So there's extra spending for watches, which is very great for our market. It's no surprise that Rolex is king. What's very interesting and also not a surprise is that for the more mature collectors, the majority of the demand is actually not the big brands like Rolex, Patek Philippe, AP. Rather, it's neo-vintage pieces and also independents. So a lot of demand for the Mosers, FP Journes, De Bethunes, even new brands like Chapek, which is very, very exciting to see. Speaking of neo-vintage, my absolute favorite watch and personal grail that we have in the Hong Kong office right now is a Patek 5970P, platinum black dial. To me, this watch represents the absolute epitome of what Patek is all about. Perfect proportion, amazing movement. It's just a wild piece through and through.
That is my all-time grail watch as well, and I just love that. To me, the most iconic complication in Patek is a perpetual chrono, and the 5970 is still the best one. The platinum's the best version, the black dial, it's amazing. Love to see that.
Piece. Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right, we're going to jump over to CQ in Dubai.
How's it going, man?
There he is. Q, how you been?
Doing good, doing good. Things are going good in Dubai. It's getting a little bit more cooler. It's only 99 degrees right now, so winter is coming, as they say. And it's great. Things are starting to open up here more. We're open for travel to Europe, and we're gearing up for Expo 2020, which will be happening in a few weeks from now. So that's basically going to be a city within a city, and over 200 countries are participating in just great exhibitions of technology and just everything. So I'm very excited for that, and we're seeing a big influx of people come in as well. The collector base here, interesting enough, just like Josh, very heavy on independents right now. It's amazing because there's so many big boutiques here, but due to the current demand situations, many brands just don't have anything to show for it. So a lot of people are hunting for vintage pieces. Independents are skyrocketing. Grenfell is a watch that people are talking to me about almost every day, which is pretty interesting as well. So it's a good time if you like unique watches, for sure. And speaking of unique, I have probably my favorite day-date I've ever seen. This is a platinum 36 millimeter smooth bezel day-date, Arabic day and date, with a beautiful mother of pearl, kind of like a brick motif. It's a watch I've never seen before, and I might try to talk you into selling me this watch, Mike. It's gorgeous and stunning, and that's the half of fun of being in international locations. You see very unique pieces, something I don't think I'd ever see back on the West Coast, on the East Coast. So it's awesome.
No, I love the 36 day dates. We've talked about them, how they were a little bit underappreciated, and that's a classic piece. And the Arabic date is amazing. But I want to just touch on a point that you brought up, which is very interesting, is I know we're starting to see some of the retail stores in the States basically be empty on certain brands, specifically on Rolex, some in Patek. And I know Dubai has probably the biggest malls in the world, some of the biggest boutiques in the world. How are they handling that lack of inventory?
So it's tough, because you're right. Dubai has some of the biggest stores and malls in the world. The largest Rolex boutique is here in Dubai. It's an amazing place. If you ever, here, you got to do it. So with the lack of pieces, what they've been really focusing on is experience. So there are a lot of brands who are focusing on just inviting clients over and potential clients over to have coffees and dinners and show prototype pieces or show pieces that maybe are not for sale, but you can at least touch them and talk to people about them. So that's one good thing I really enjoy. It's very experience focused here because you have such big, beautiful real estate, big, beautiful stores. At least they're trying to do something, but it is tough. There's a lot of There's no longer wait lists here for certain brands. They're called wish lists. So you get on a wish list and then you go on a wait list because it's a very, high concentration of people who are going after the same piece. So you get on the wish list and then you get a call to then go on the wait list and then you finally get your piece. So hopefully it kind of loosens up. But what I love that because there's so many brands here, there are, if you can't get the Rolex, maybe you go to a different independent, maybe you try out a different brand. So there's a buffet of watches here. So it's just what you want to take a bite out of.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that. All right, so last but certainly not least, we're going to jump to Switzerland and Patrik Hoffmann. Patrik, how have you been?
I've been very well, thank you. We were talking about getting appetite, from CQ just now. And we had this kind of last week with Geneva Watch Days. So Geneva Watch Days was the first event in a long time where journalists, retailers, manufacturers came together. And of course, it was an amazing time. We could see really that the people were enjoying to see the pieces in real, to see the people in real. So it was an amazing experience last week in Geneva. That was very encouraging.
Yeah, I had the same experience out in Vegas where we were at Couture and the Antique Show, and being face to face, having product in front of you is still very different and still, underappreciated, I think. I think we all realize how important it is now to sit down and talk to everybody in the industry. So what was your favorite thing you saw at Geneva Watch Days?
And of course, I'm going to repeat probably what was said before. I have three keywords coming out. One is independence. People were talking about the independence. One was CPO, certified pre-owned. And when talking to the CEOs of all those brands that participated, I can see that search that they're all looking to go directly to the consumer. So the communication will be much more direct from the manufacturers to the consumers. That's what I saw. Independence, there were a few really great brands there. One brand, which I didn't know, they produce maybe 100 pieces a year, was Lederer. Something completely new to me. Bernhard Lederer is actually a name who was in the trade for many years, decades, but he was always playing or creating timepieces in the background. And even today, he wouldn't really disclose with whom he worked. That's one brand which I really got out of it, besides all the other independent brands.
And now, what do you think? I love the point you're saying, because I've seen the same thing with a lot of brands going directly to the consumer. So do you think we'll start seeing more smaller shows that are retail focused, that are directly, or do you think just on social or that kind of?
No, I think it will be a combination of both. Now, of course, Geneva Watch Days was more for the trade. I didn't see a lot of end consumers there, not even in the forums. So that's certainly an aspect which they will accelerate. Yes, I will see more traveling shows and more direct contact in person, because now there's a demand for that. We were closed and locked down for 1.5 years. People want to touch and see not only timepieces, but colleagues, friends, CEOs, and so forth.
All right, so I know you have a couple of watches there that are your favorites. So let's not forget.
Well, I have a couple of them, but before I go in there, maybe just quickly on the Geneva Watch Days and the trend of product, because I saw a few products which are not out yet. And I see that continuous trend to sports watches. It's a real surge. I mean, I saw some pieces from a Greubel Forsey as an example. They are continuing to build on the GMT, on the sports models. Right. A brand which was mentioned before, Japek. We see some sports models coming out there. We see the skeletonized Rattrapant, which was an amazing timepiece for me. Even a brand like Parmigiani, which we don't talk a lot about, is really building on the Tonda collection for the sports collection. Now, one of the sports collections which I have here is the Streamliner of H. Moser, a favorite for me. We just got that in yesterday and is actually going out tomorrow already to an end consumer. An amazing timepiece which really reflects the trend of the independence, but also reflects the trend in product. I need to show you a second timepiece, because today this is my favorite timepiece, and it's the one which I wear. And I'm lucky enough to have a Debetune DB28, which for me reflects the brand, actually, where it comes from the DNA with the lugs, which we know. I learned a bit more about the movements, 6 days power reserve on most of their timepieces which they produce. So it's not only the look, it's all the details which go into the product, into the movement, into the shock absorber systems, which is really reflecting the Betum to its best. And I'm very happy to be able to wear that timepiece now for a while.
It suits you. I love that piece. So now that you've been talking about the shows, I want to jump back to Q for a minute, because obviously Dubai Watch Week is coming up. Sooner than later, I think we'll probably be heading over there in about 9 or 10 weeks. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. And I know we've heard some rumors of some special brands that are actually going to be attending in person and open to the public. So I thought it'd be a great time to touch on that.
Well, yeah, Mike, we're counting weeks instead of months now. Planning is almost done for Dubai Watch Week. The planning phase is over, and now we're just putting together the booths. I'm really excited to see you again. The biggest challenge now is just to make sure we have a turkey so we can have our Thanksgiving dinner, right? So that's my big project right now. But beyond that, I'm excited to see who pops up. It has been very tight-lipped, let's say, on what brands might pop up. I do expect the usual subjects there. I do want to piggyback on what Patrik was talking about with Parmigiani. I love the new Tonda sports series that came out. So I'd love to see if they, I don't think they were there last time, but I'd love to see if they make an appearance, because I'd love to get my hands on that piece.
Yeah, obviously, I did get to see a list that's just going to be released about the same time this video is going to be released. So it'll be nice to be able to talk about. Rolex is definitely going to be there. That was the big news 2 years ago, it was kind of their first big exhibition outside of Switzerland. Hublot, Chopard. But what we're hearing is AP is going to make an appearance. Now, obviously, it's right now the hottest brand, or one of the hottest brands in the market. And to have them be on the ground will be great. And also a huge amount of independence. Obviously Joran was there last time. We talked about Zapek. We talked about a lot of the independents. Debethune obviously will be there, Moser, all the guys. And often they do special introductions for Dubai Watch Week. Siddiqui's one of the biggest clients in the world. And oftentimes we'll see special editions. So I was wondering if anybody had any predictions on what we might see, since it's been a while since we've seen a lot of new introductions from the big boys.
For me, I think it'd be exciting to see a nice introduction, a special edition Octa from Bulgari, for example. I think it's a brand that at these shows always introduces something very cool, very exciting, a kind of twisted take on one of their existing pieces. Also for AP, it's a very exciting opportunity for them to do something fun and exciting leading up to their anniversary next year for the Royal Oak. I think all around, it's a very big opportunity. And I just want to say also, with Dubai Watch Week and other potential localized shows like this that might come up in the future, I think it's just a fantastic opportunity for people in local markets to get more hands-on experience with watches, learn more, become more excited, and also for the younger generation to be more involved with the process. I think it could help to influence and bring up a whole new generation of collectors as we move forward.
I think that's a great point, and I think my favorite part of Dubai Watch Week the last time was really the one-on-one time you got to speak with the watchmakers and sit and have a drink and really see the introductions, but just spend time talking to them. To Patrik's point, just like he was doing in Geneva, I think that opportunity in Dubai is huge.
I think it's much bigger, much better in the way for approaching end consumers when we look in Dubai, because there, the way everything is set up with the brands, the brand owners, the CEOs, the designer, the watchmakers, they are there. You can grab them. You don't have to go into a suite. And I think in terms of education, we are going to see a lot again, because they're going to be very small independent ones there. One, for example, which I just saw on the list, is Carsten Frestorff, produces probably 15 pieces, has a long history. So there will be a few showing up which for years didn't have a chance to even show up in Basel or somewhere else. And I'm sure we are going to see a lot of limited editions, special editions for the Middle East coming up, because that's just something which is always working for the Middle East. And I think the world is going to look at Dubai just like it did 2 years ago. Talking about Dubai Watch Week, I was lucky enough to see a list weeks ago, because I'm working with a brand who is going to participate there as well. And I realized that it's going to be 80% of the participants that will be independents. So I got to a question, and I asked myself, what is going to happen if some of those independents are going to increase their production? Some of them can, some of them might not be able to do it. What do you guys think will the effect be on those brands and on the independents if some of them choose to do that? Well, what do you think?
Well, I think in order to grow, the independents will, at some level, increase production. It's necessary to grow, right? I do think there's a difference, however, between making a few hundred watches per year and producing thousands of watches per year. So as long as they respect that, level of distribution, or level of production, rather, I think there's really no issue with that, in my opinion.
I agree. I think steady increase for certain brands is needed right now. Right now, we've seen a demand go. Even very micro brands like Froland Marie, which is a Kickstarter brand, they're getting flipped over the internet and they make quality pieces. I think there's so many great independents, and the appetite right now of new consumers who are jumping in on the core brands, and then the not older, but the consumers who've been in the game for a little bit, who really love independence, they can't really get their hands on it. So the more the merrier, I think. I think right now is a great time. If you make a great watch, it will get bought, right? Don't go crazy. Don't, 5 times your production or something. But I think if you make a good quality watch and you kind of speak with your collectors, like you're talking about, I see brands really speaking to their collectors much more and really trying to get into their heads and touch with them a little bit more. I think once you're creating good pieces, the demand warrants up in production in certain aspects. Just make sure the quality is there to back up your game.
Yeah, I think that's the concern is how much can they ramp up? But I think most consumers don't realize how small some of these brands are. Like I always think about like a Laurent Ferrier, who's fairly well known for a small brand, but is still making 130 to 150 watches a year. That is not a lot of pieces to go global. Ressence is another brand I love, and I love Benoit, but he's doing 300 pieces. They could certainly ramp up 15, 20, 25%, which would help them from a financial standpoint, obviously, because their fixed costs stay the same, but it helps them grow, it helps them distribute in different places and reach the market. A lot of these brands, Voudelainen, some of these really small, Groenfeld, I always think of, you just can't get a piece right now. So I think there's a need for an increase in production. No, we're not talking thousands, but we're talking 50, 100, maybe 200 more watches for some of these brands could really change their whole dynamic of the business. And the demand is definitely there. We see it every day. The prices keep going up on a lot of these independents because the supply is not there. So I think a little bit of an increase in supply would be healthy for the market.
I fully agree. And I think, and as you know, I always think about the watch industry here, the manufacturers, the craftsmanship, the watchmakers. I think it would be good for the industry here in Switzerland, for the manufacturers, and also to create more creativity amongst the watchmakers. I think it would be a very good situation and move for the Swiss watch industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think, one of the things we spoke about last week on Market Rep is I feel like we're in a very special time right now. And the time is that these independents are now being appreciated, coveted, and there's growth in the industry that we probably didn't see 10, 12 years ago. I remember back in the late 90s, early 2000s when things were exploding and new brands were coming online and new appreciation. And I think a little bit more supply and appreciation of these small brands. And now that there's liquidity in small brands, people are more willing to take a risk for something they fall in love with. And it might be the watchmaker they fall in love with and his creation. And I think the more we have of that, the better it is for the entire industry. So Q, we're all looking forward to joining you in person there. I can't wait to be there. Guys, this was fantastic. I appreciate everybody jumping on with me, and we look forward to doing this again. Maybe we'll do one of these live from Dubai.
Oh, we should. We have to.
Look forward to that. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.